Hello learners, my name is Dr. Ruchi Sao and I will be your course teacher for Human Resource Management. It is always said that great vision without great people is unachievable. That is the role of human resources in any organization, whether small or big. HR is not a thing we do, it is a thing that runs the business and earns profit for the organization. Narayan Murthy, founder of Infosys, always says, human resources are my biggest asset. He not only says it, but applies it as well by investing in the employees of the companies. Infosys has invested crores of rupees in building a state-of-the-art infrastructure and facilities in Infosys Training Center in Mysore. This example gives us a clear understanding as to how the employees are given priority and a huge amount is invested on them. This investment done for the employees always gives return to the organizations in terms of profit, better culture and building a better brand in the market. I can recollect a small conversation that I had with a chief financial officer of a leading company. He asked me, what happens if we invest in developing people and then they leave the organization? I had a small and apt reply. What happens if we do not develop them and they stay back in the organization? The question itself answers everything. On this note, let us start with the learning outcomes you will have. After this session, you will have an understanding of the basic concepts of HR. You will also have clarity with respect to the roles, responsibilities, objectives of HRM. There are various functions of HRM such as planning, managing, developing, and many more that we will be discussing. We would also be discussing about how the concept of HRM has evolved in so many years throughout the world. Before we begin with the course, I would also like to clear a myth that generally students have. They feel that HR is cup of tea only for females. In fact, in corporate sector, there is no such gender dominance of females and you will find both males and females in playing strategic and important roles in the HR department. So, just to introduce the concept of HRM, we begin with the concept of 5 M's, which are money, material, machines, methods and manpower. Manpower is hired to fit in the organization, developed for performance and motivated for excellence. It is the manpower who manages all the other M's of management, which are money, material, machines and methods. There is a dedicated HR department in every organization, whether small or big. In some organizations, the HR department is also referred as administrative department, which takes care of leaves and salary administration. HR department handles multiple roles in various areas. For instance, at Persistent, the HR department is bifurcated as per the n number of functions such as lateral hiring, training and development, recruitment, admin, performance management, CSR and so many more. In the current slide, you can see so many roles under the umbrella of HRM. They are the ones who have to make job descriptions, recruit and select candidates, provide them with induction and training, calculate salary and incentives, create performance appraisal forms, maintaining records, handling grievances, doing all sort of legal compliances as per the policies of the government. And if I want to continue, even a short span of time is going to be not sufficient enough for that. So the list is going to be endless. We also see that the HRM also covers creating job descriptions, selecting the right person for the right job at the right time, placing him, enhancing his skills, enhancing his abilities. The HR department as a whole also performs n number of other functions that we are going to see in the upcoming slides. The term HR can be thought as the total knowledge, skills, creative abilities, talent and attitudes of the workforce in the organization, as well as the values, attitudes and beliefs of the individual employee involved. When we discuss upon the nature of HRM, we can say that it is a management function that helps the managers to do quite a lot of activities such as recruitment and selection, training and development, maintaining the human resources, computing salaries, and doing so many other activities to manage the workforce. Training and development specifically not only involves providing training but also identifying the training needs of the employees. There are n number of sources of recruitment that the HR person uses, such as internal source or external source. The internal sources of recruitment can be internal reference, wherein one of the employees of the company is asked to refer somebody he knows which is going to be suitable for the job description. There are n number of ways in which selection can be made. There are n number of psychological tests and technical tests that are conducted on the prospective candidates or the employees to select the right person. So if I want to quote an example over here, if you talk about Indian Air Force, there is a rigorous 7-day recruitment and selection process in which every evening there is a list of students or candidates who have been allowed to continue in the recruitment and selection process for the next day. Which means recruitment and selection is not a 1-day activity or a 1-hour activity. It is going to start with floating of vacancy by the respective department, and then later on the HR department is either going to publish an advertisement in the website or in the newspaper, as the case may be. Further, once the employee is selected, this employee needs to adapt to the organization culture of the organization. So first and foremost, on the very first day, there is an orientation program which is also called as induction program that is carried on for the employees. This induction program is also part and parcel of training and development for the employees. In this program, the employee is briefly informed about the culture of the organization, the various policies, and what is the code of conduct acceptable in the organization. Once the employee starts his performance in the organization, he can be given suitable training either in the form of on-the-job training or off-the-job training. In IT companies specifically, he can also be sent on a project which can be a form of on-the-job training. So if we continue towards and we have a look at the second point, HRM means employing people, developing their resources, utilizing them, maintaining them, and also compensating them or their services in tune with the job requirements and goals of organization. If it is a startup, it's a new company, obviously the new company cannot survive much, because if they pay higher salaries, it won't be possible for them to earn profit and create reserves and surplus. And that's why we say that whatever we are doing for the employees, it always has to be in sync with the job requirements and the goals of the organization. It is indeed a continuous process. We cannot say that HRM is a process that is a one-time activity. As we discuss in the latter part, you will have more clarity with respect to the roles and functions played by the HR. HRM as a function or as a natural phenomenon requires alignment of HR policies with the different strategies of the organization. The strategies of the organization is built and developed at each and every level. At the initial level, these strategies are going to be at the departmental level, which would be in line with the organization or the business strategy. For instance, if I take the example of Tata Group of Company. So Tata Group of Company has more than 50 companies under the flagship company Tata. So the departments are going to have their own strategies. The business, for instance, Tata Motors will have their own strategies, and the strategy of Tata Motors will be in line with the strategies of the flagship company, that is Tata Group. And now I hope you understand that why do we say it is not a one-time process and it is a continuous process. In the organization, there are many employees who come from different cultures, having separate values and diverse skill set. The nature of HRM is to manage these diverse skills and align it to the organizational goal. Overall, in a nutshell, if I say, HRM is basically a management function that helps the managers of each and every department to work in line with the HR department for the growth and strategy implementation at the organizational level. When we discuss something or when we coin the word scope of HRM, it covers the various areas under HRM. In the current figure that you can see, we can see so many aspects. Employees often, when they join the organization, they bring in hopes, dreams, fears and frustrations when they join. The HR department tries to understand that the employee, because they belong to diverse skill set, various cultures, and they have high anxiety also to perform in the organization, the HR needs to manage all this, and this becomes the scope and part and parcel of the HRM activities. The activities that need to be done under HRM are, if we start with employee motivation in all given situations. There is every possibility that the employee is facing some personal problem because of which he is unable to focus at his job and work. It is the responsibility of the immediate supervisor or the boss or the HR department to identify this problem and try to come up with an amicable solution for it. Maintaining of employees, that is employee maintenance, also means retaining the employees and maintaining their data in the form of skill set. We need to retain the employee so that they have high job satisfaction, and we are in a position to select the right person for promotions and relocations. The next that we are seeing is industrial relations. When we talk about manufacturing industries, we also need to take care of industrial relations. These relations are with respect to the workers who are represented by the trade unions and the relation of trade union and management. I can recollect an example of one of the companies located in Nagpur, wherein there were roughly 350 workers on contract basis. The trade unions and the contractual workers were constantly pressing and stressing on the HR department that they should be made permanent. Now the HR department was in a fix because the top management said that we can make only roughly 100 workers as permanent workers. So what about the remaining 250 workers? Because as you understand and study the law, you will understand that making a worker permanent also involves quite a lot of legal formalities. Now these formalities also include deducting the provident fund, giving them n number of wages, giving them n number of facilities and so on. The midway in this company that was taken out by the HR department was, they took out the various overtime schedules wherein those workers who were on contract basis, they were ready to work overtime, they were willing to handle situations, and a list was created by ranking method. Immediately the top 100 people were selected to become permanent workers. And here in this case, the HR department had sufficient justification to provide to the trade unions that on the basis of performance of the workers, the diligence and the manner in which they have performed their duty, we have selected only 100 employees who are good enough to make them permanent. Now this is how the HR operates. This is how the HR department strategically, in a diplomatic way, tries to create a bridge between the workers and the management. And that's why we say the HR department acts as a strong link between the management and the workers. In corporate world also, the HR acts as an agent for the management to implement policies from time to time for the employees and also implement changes as and when required. We have already seen the nature of HRM. The scope of HRM will broaden as the size of the organization grows. If I talk about an organization which only has an employee or a workforce of 50 employees, in that case, only one person acting as a HR manager can handle all the functions of HRM. However, like we spoke something about Persistent some time ago, in case of Persistent where in one city itself there are more than 2500 to 3000 employees, it becomes very difficult for one person to handle it. And that's where we require a team of experts who are specialized in their respective areas. The prospect of HRM, or when we talk about the future of HRM, is definitely very bright, because then it's the HR team who is handling all the departments in the organization. We already have discussed the nature of HRM in the previous slide. Basically, the scope covers all the activities that are related to the human resources or the employees in the organization. Further, let us identify certain major and broad objectives of HRM in detail now. If you see here, we have 4 objectives that we have identified. So let us start with the first and the broad objective, which is called as the societal objective. Individual as an employee, his role in the organization and the goals of the organization are part of the societal objective. This objective attempts to communicate as to how the organization needs to be socially and ethically responsible towards the society. In other words, the organization's objective is profit oriented, but they should also consider it and make as per the norms of the society in which the organization exists. I am in a position to recollect one more example of certain factories that were located in Agra. Now, the kind of emissions that were there from this industry, the monument Taj Mahal was getting affected. Immediately, the government and the suitable authorities identified that we need to take corrective steps because our heritage and culture would be affected by it in the form of blackening of Taj Mahal. The organizations or the industries also supported well, and these industries were shifted to some different place. Now this is how the organization needs to play a role in the society. Societal objective being fulfilled by the organization also means that the organization should ensure all legal compliances made by the government and treating the employees and workers fairly. So for instance, the industry should give minimum wages to all the workers. They should provide with good working condition in the factories. This objective will also be applicable to industries so that they maintain good worker management relations. The second objective that we can see is the organizational one. The organization's responsibility is to do the HR planning appropriately and should also give an equal chance of employment to all despite of caste, religion or demographic they belong to. When we talk in terms of giving equal opportunity, it is possible in public sector undertakings or government companies. However, the private companies or MNCs should always upload an advertisement either on their website and should not be biased while they are selecting the candidates. I still remember facing one interview wherein I was not recruited by the manager just because I belong to the state of Maharashtra. So now is this right? So when you talk about objectives, because the organization exists in a society, the probability is very high that the organization needs to follow the social norms. Okay, so